There once was a boy named Jonathan King. He had a sister, her name was Christine. They lived in a house with their mommy and dad. The best mom and dad that a kid ever had. I invented that line.
Well, I'm a little nervous about receiving what seems like an honor here. In fact, it doesn't really appeal to me to do this, except if we had the opportunity to let people know that if you're a Christian and turn things over to God and to Jesus and try to follow the Bible, finally things seem to work out. And we didn't have to even go to finally. These two kids have surpassed us already in their Christian faith and witness. And if we are successful in any way, it's God working through us. And now then, working in Chris and JD in very, very special ways, far beyond what we ever dreamed.
The biggest challenge to all of us is the fact that I was diagnosed in 2010 with frontal temporal dementia, meaning that the frontal lobe of my brain, it's a devastating disease for the family, maybe as much or more than the person that's going through it. I think we all can remember the first night that I was taken over there and put in a locked unit. And when I saw them leave, and when they saw me wave, we all thought that would be until I died. And it's pretty rough.
It's the hardest day of my life, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
To lock your wife up and then leave. Not fun.
I should say I had thousands of people praying for me because I feel a large part because of deaf missions. Because after about 4.5 months, 5 months, I just started doing better.
I asked one of the doctors, what's the prognosis now? He said, good land, I don't know, nothing like this ever happened. And I asked another doctor, how come of this? Well, it's an answer to prayer. I asked another doctor, how come? It's a miracle. And so it's got us all just praising God. It's an amazing thing, and it's a wonderful testimony.
This is a word my dad made up. It's probopportunity, that what starts out looking like a problem becomes an opportunity. And we have seen that many, many times in our lives, and I feel like that has been a huge foundation to stand on, is that we can move forward and know that God is working even through the things that are really difficult.
Well, as I tell most people, I got involved with deaf ministry because I was preaching to hearing people and they didn't pay any attention. So I thought I'd just talk to the deaf. But there is a longer story. And I was preaching to hearing people in Norfolk, Nebraska. A man went out one day, he shook my hand and there was money left in my hand. I said, what's that for? He said, well, it's Christmas time, and it was December. He said, would you take that to the people who live at 615 Walnut? They're broke and I feel sorry for them. And I said, well, sure, but why don't you do it yourself? He said, well, I rent them the house that they live in, and I don't want them to think I'm such a good Joe that they won't pay their rent. And I figured out that's why he was a businessman and I was a preacher. So I took it, punched what I thought was a doorbell, but I learned later it was a light. And then here came a young lady, and I said, here is an anonymous cash gift. And she went, and oh my word, she's deaf. And I didn't know what to do. She did. She got a pad of paper and a pencil and wrote, what do you want? I struggled writing it, and it was so cold, she invited me in. I was writing notes to her at the kitchen table when her husband came home. Found me writing notes to his wife, but understood. Finally, I wrote, "Why don't you come to church?" And what they wrote was really something. It hit me really hard. They wrote, "We can't get anything out of church." All of a sudden my mind was whirring with, of course they can't. And there must be other people like that. And it just struck me. He says that what I wrote next is a God thing. And I believe it, because I wrote, "If you'll come to church, I'll learn sign language."
When Deaf Mission started, I think one of the things that really made it especially helpful is that they didn't just work with deaf people one-on-one, they created tools that other people could use. So there's videos. At that time there were overhead transparencies, you know, or slides. That way people could use it when they're doing their thing, and because of that it's worldwide.
And it just mushroomed after that, the work. There was such a need for it, and he just felt obsessed almost.
And now then he's obsessed. He's got another mission called Deaf Child Hope, and he has the same desire for deaf children in third world countries mostly, and that's a big deal. Personally, I give credit to Peggy for raising these two kids, and then beyond that, credit to God for taking care sometimes when we didn't do it right.
You know, I just think we've been a close family. You know, I think it starts with the parents loving each other first, showing that love, modeling that love, but then again having unconditional love and acceptance of their children. So
We just were really blessed with two really neat people.
On Sunday they get dressed and all go to church and learn about Jesus and sing songs of praise to the Lord up in heaven above. And now the King family tells of God's love to all men. To Chris and John and Dad and Mom, and to all the people both hearing and deaf, this is the song of the King family.
So there it is.